Hey Titans, welcome to our MR Broadcasting with Miss Hadostad. So, Miss Hadostad, how have you been?
Oh, I've just been doing good. I've been counting down the days till summer, 19 more days to go.
Sounds good. So, let's get straight into it. What made you want to become a teacher?
I was one of those kids that when people asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, I've always said that I've wanted to be a teacher. When I was in second grade, instead of dressing up as Halloween as like a mermaid or Barbie or something, I dressed up as a teacher and I made my mom print me out like a lanyard with my little picture and name on it. So I don't really remember the exact moment that I decided to become a teacher. It was just something that I always knew that I was going to do. So when I graduated high school, it was not even a question in my mind that I would go to college to be a teacher.
Just one of those set things.
Yep, I was born that way, I suppose. And people have told me that before. I was born to be a teacher.
So, this is your first year teaching here.
It is.
How was your first day?
It was a whirlwind because not only is it my first year teaching at Monmouth Roseville, it's my first year teaching in general. So on that first day of school, I still remember shutting the door for the first time and looking at like 25, 16-year-olds and being like, oh my gosh, I'm the one who is in charge right now and I have to lead this, because it wasn't that long ago that I was in your guys' shoes. And so I was very scared on my first day of teaching, but you all have welcomed me so nicely that it really wasn't that bad.
I think sometimes it's better to have younger teachers too, because you have more of a connection through like the age.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
you're closer in, going from memes to games to social media.
Yeah, I can relate to you guys on a much different level because I was in your shoes literally 4, 5, 6 years ago, so I completely understand what life is like in high school. It hasn't worn off yet. I still kind of remember what it feels like to go to 8 different class periods a day and have practice after school. And understanding that you guys all have a life outside of Monmouth Roseville. So yeah, for sure, I can definitely relate to you guys a little bit more on that level.
So, what did you think your first year of teaching was going to go versus how it went?
Ooh, I like that question. Over summer, I'm kind of an anxious person, and so over summer, I mean, like the thought of having once again to lead my own classroom kept me up at night, just because I am somebody who almost a perfectionist. I want to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can in whatever I'm doing, and that's what really scared me the most. Is I had no idea how to be a good teacher because I mean I student taught obviously, but it's not legit until you're in it yourself. So I would say that I had much worse expectations for how I thought this year was going to go. I didn't know how I was going to be able to handle it all, and that's what kind of kept me up at night, was just trying to understand how I was going to get through this first year, because like we were talking about, I'm learning along with you guys through this, and so I was really scared, just once again trying to do the best that I can for you guys, but like I said earlier, you all made it really easy and you welcomed me here, and for the most part, everybody listens and does what they're supposed to do. So I would say that my year at Monmouth Roseville actually blew my expectations out of the water. I really do love it here.
Well, that's good. That's amazing. Since you are a history teacher, if you had a book on history or something like that, what book would you teach?
If I had to teach a book?
Or a movie, like something history related.
Okay. So when I was in college, my favorite class that I ever took was kind of a weird class. It was called the J-term class. We actually went to the same course every single day. And my class was about different war movies. So we actually watched a different war movie every single day. So I watched 17 war movies in 17 days. And it did kind of get a lot just because it is pretty heavy, gruesome content. But if I could do something like that, that would be so much fun. Because one, war movies are just interesting to watch anyway. And then we talked about how the movie depicted the war, what that kind of reveals about how Americans think about the war. For example, the Vietnam War, people really hated on the Vietnam War, as you should know, Drake, right? Yes, as you should know. People were very opposed to the Vietnam War, and so when we watch movies about the Vietnam War, it's very obvious to see that people did not agree with our decision to go over there. So, I don't know, I think being able to relate, like you said, a book or a fun movie to history is always really exciting. So I think I would center more on like the war movie aspect.
Yeah, I think that's good with the talking about the movie and all that too, because next year you're teaching psychology.
I am, psych and soc, yes.
I think that blends in a little bit with that too. And psychology is a good thing to get into. I like it. My mom went to college for it to help her career.
I'm super excited. That's actually kind of a good segue. I'm really excited about teaching those classes next year. We've had so much interest in it that I'm actually going to be able to teach 2 class periods of it, 2 class periods of psychology first semester, and then 2 class periods of sociology second semester. And I mean, it's just, one, I hated that you guys didn't have a social studies elective after your junior year, after you get through all your required social studies classes. We didn't have anything to offer you. And I hated that because when I went to Sherrard High School, and that's where I really learned that I loved history, because I took so many history classes or social studies classes. I took humanities, I took sociology, I took psychology. My brother even took history of sports last year at Sherrard. So there's all kinds of different electives, and I wanted to try to give opportunities like that for people who are social studies nerds like me, or maybe think that they could be a social studies nerd, and actually provide them with opportunities like psych and soc. And just in case, if you're planning on going to college, many fields, even as a history ed major, I had to take an intro to psych course my freshman year. So it's a really popular gen ed for a lot of different majors in college. So getting kind of like some background knowledge in high school will just set you on the best track for college.
Well, I mean, we could segue right into that.
Exactly.
So, what's a big thing that you want to teach for those classes?
For those, so actually, that's actually kind of, I'm still kind of working through it. We finally picked out our curriculum, so we have all of our textbooks in and everything, and so I'll be able to kind of start diving into what units I could possibly teach. So I guess this is a good place to ask if anybody has anything. I mean, I haven't started planning yet, so if anybody really wants to talk about something in psych and soc, definitely let me know. But psych is more about like the mind, the science behind how your mind works, and so we'll get into things like personality, so like what makes you who you are, things like emotions, just what is psychology in general. And then sociology is more about like the relationships that you have with other people. So we'll talk about how like friendships are formed. We'll talk about even things like crime, like social deviance, why some people are born to become criminals later on in life, just a bunch of random things like that. And what's so fun about psych and soc is there's so many opportunities to be very interactive with it, like almost like labs like you do in science. We'll be able to do that in psych and soc too.
Well, that's cool. Do you think you'd ever do like a psychology experiment in your class?
Oh yeah, yes, for sure. I took a developmental psychology in college. And I remember we were learning about, it was a developmental psychology, so we went from newborn all the way till old age and how you develop throughout your life. And when we got to the elderly stage, she brought in like different things like glasses that made it really hard to see, or she brought in like little balls that you put in your shoes to make it like to resemble how old people feel like when they're walking around, like walking on pins and needles, kind
of like little sensory things.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. So there's different opportunities like that we'll be able to get kids up and moving, because I do say that's definitely something that in history gets a little harder, just because it is a lot of reading and writing and content that there isn't as many hands-on activities. I really have to kind of try to stretch to get those hands-on activities, so psych and social kind of just invite me to be able to do that more.
Well, that's good.
How have you liked history this year, Drake?
Well, it's a good class. I like the people in it.
Yeah.
Amazing teacher.
Oh, thank you, Drake. Thank you. I try my hardest.
I've always liked history.
Yeah.
History's I just like looking at the past, seeing what could happen in the future.
The reason I've always liked history, it's kind of funny, but like this is for real. The reason I've always liked history is because I seriously think it's like gossip. I'm like kind of a nosy person, and so I love hearing everybody's tea and everybody's juicy gossip. I'm so like that. And so I felt like when I started learning about history, I was getting all this gossip. I was getting all these secrets that other people really didn't know about. And then I could go and share that gossip with other people. Because history is really dramatic. I mean, there's love stories, there's deaths, there's murders, right? There's all kinds of stuff that happened in history. So when you kind of look at it more like a soap opera or like a TV show, a movie, rather than like it just being like a boring old subject with textbooks, it becomes a lot more exciting. Because it is truly like gossip. It is.
I've never really thought of it that way, to be honest. That's a new way to look at it.
It is.
Nice.
It really is. You're getting all the gossip from the past. So.
With getting your degree for teaching, do you think it prepared you?
Oh yes, 1,000%. Which that you just gave me an opportunity to brag on the college that I went to. I absolutely loved Augustana College. All of my students know that I went to Augustana, and I'm a Viking till I die. If I had to choose, I would choose Augustana all over again. And it's funny because it's not that far away, especially from where I live, because I'm a little bit out of Monmouth. It's only like 45 minutes from my house. So I didn't think that I would love it so much being so close by, but it's truly what they call the Augie bubble. You feel like you're kind of in your own world up there, especially with the teacher education program. Once again, kind of bragging on them. They are known for having one of the better education programs in the area. And so I already had an advantage just graduating from the college on my resume showing that I graduated from the Augustana education program, because schools around here kind of like to see that because they know that it's a good program. So I felt incredibly prepared. I didn't realize how prepared I was to start teaching until I did it, and I was like, oh yeah, I learned about this last year, or I know what to do in this situation because I handled it during student teaching or something like that. So I felt very prepared. So if there's anybody out there looking for a college, definitely check out Augustana.
I think the biggest thing with learning anything is being able to put it somewhere in like real life, or even just in theoretical senses.
Yeah, applying it, being able to
just
apply
being able
it,
to put that in these situations where you need them.
For sure.
I think that's the biggest thing.
I had a really awesome student teaching experience too. I student taught all the way up at Pleasant Valley in Iowa, so giant school. There are like 1,600 kids that go to the high school. So
wow.
It is a huge high school. But I had a really awesome co-op, which is like who you work with, the teacher that I worked with. At first, I was scared because she kind of just threw me in the deep end and was like, hey, you're on your own, have fun teaching. And I had no idea what to do. But now, looking back, I'm so grateful for that, because it almost felt like I got like half of my first year of teaching under my belt during student teaching.
Yeah, it gave you a little more pressure for you to fight back on it.
Exactly. And the more you sit there and not do something, the more uncomfortable you get. So if you kind of just rip the Band-Aid off, it makes the whole process easier.
What was high school like for you?
Ooh, high school. I was somebody who loved high school. I was one of those girls who loved high school. It's kind of funny. My family is known for being a pretty athletic bunch. I have 3 siblings who all played sports in high school, and not only played sports, but they were like the studs on the team. And so when I got into high school, the only thing I did was competitive dance, and that was at a studio not attached to Sherrard High School. So when I got into high school, everybody was like, yes, we have another Halsad who's going to be able to like win all of our basketball games for us and be an amazing volleyball player.
Starts dunking on everybody.
Yeah, you know Drake. I have none of that. Okay, so I was at first kind of a disappointment to Sherrard because I was not following in the Hattelstad footsteps. But I got involved in other ways. I was on like student council. I was a part of National Honor Society. I was kind of like in charge of like the spirit team, so like getting people to come to basketball games and like cheering or hyping up the student section, stuff like that. But my high school experience is kind of interesting because I was a senior during COVID. So I was one of those 2020 seniors who had the parking lot graduation. So my last day of high school was a random day in March that I never expected to be my last day of high school. You all probably remember we thought we were getting a 2-week break, and then we did not go back to school the rest of that year. And so we had a parking lot graduation. I didn't get to have my senior prom, which, you know, looking back, that is an opportunity that I missed out on. But I'm glad that it seems like most schools tried to make that situation the best that they could for seniors, which ours was a parking lot graduation. So it was kind of interesting, but what can you do?
I think I was probably 6th grade.
Sixth grade? I know, that's what I was trying to think, how old you guys were for
I'm
COVID.
not totally sure about that. It was either 5th or 6th.
6th grade. It was crazy. Yeah, and it was weird being a senior, and then the transition into college, because like in the fall it was still kind of under lockdown, and so having to go to college as a freshman, you don't know anybody, and you're technically supposed to be like under lockdown, still was very interesting. So I kind of had to learn how to survive on my own my freshman year of college in a pandemic.
Yeah.
But it all worked out. So made me who I am today.
Well, we were getting a little towards the end. Do you have anything you want to leave with anybody watching?
I guess, as we're winding down the school year, like I said earlier, Monmouth-Roseville this year has truly blown my expectations out of the water. I have loved my time here. I was dreading getting a big girl job because I've just been living like my free life the past 21 years. And so, I wasn't super excited to get to wake up every single day for 5 days a week going into work. But if I have to go anywhere, I've decided that Monmouth-Roseville would be the place that I want to go. I really do love the people that I work with. And like I said, most days my students make me happy and do what they're supposed to do. So all in all, I've really enjoyed this past school year, and I can't believe we only have 19 days left.
It's getting close.
It's getting close, and you'll be a big old junior, and I'll be a second-year teacher. I never have to be a first-year teacher ever again.
One-time thing.
A one-time thing. Hopefully I did okay. Good. Okay, good. Didn't kill anybody, so.
Came close to me a couple times.
Oh, well, you did that to yourself, Drake, so.
I guess.
Yeah, you do that to yourself.
Thank you for watching.